I didn't know whose iPhone it is. I don't know how. I've never used. Oh, is it that from that iPad?
I think.
So I had it, so it's like hard to work, and I have
Ah,
asked.
perfect.
So I'm sitting you from both ends. Like once the pain in the leg goes away, wow, I'm breathing. No, they wanted me to take this day. And it's like steroids. I said, I don't want it. So they said, they give me this one thing, and it only
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Sri Bhakti Center Lower East Side Dham Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday program, Bhagavat Sravana. We're so happy to have you here. Ari, thank you so much for leading us in such a beautiful kirtan. That was so moving. Thank you. I know most people here, but is it anybody's first time to this program? Wonderful. Welcome. So everybody knows the rules of the road. But just in case anyone's forgotten, and for anyone who's watching on live stream in this very close angle, we're going to have a class now given by Vasudev Prabhu. We will then have more kirtan and arti to Sri Sri Radha Mulidhar, Gaurchandra. And then we'll have some announcements, and we'll take prasadam in the back and have a vegan feast. So I'm very excited to introduce our speaker today, whom most of you will know. Vasudev Prabhu is a wonderful, long-time leader within the Bhakti Center community. He joins us originally from Netherlands. He has lived and studied in ashrams all over the world, and he is the head priest here at Bhakti Center. Vasudev Prabhu, how long have you been our head pujari?
Probably 15 years.
Maybe 15 years, maybe more. That's a long time in New York City years especially. So he has performed countless festivals, rituals, rites for our deities and for our community members. He is such a role model to so many people in the Bhakti Center community and globally. And we're so happy to have him here today. His class, great name for the class, is entitled The Pastimes of Sri Gadadhar Pandit and How to Avoid the Pitfall of Presumptions. So I will pass it over to you, Vasudev Prabhu.
Thank you. Dad.
Big Haribol welcome. Haribol! Yes.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chiksuram Vidajena Tasmai Shri Vena Svichaitanya Manovishnam Sabhidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dada Sukadam Vandeham Shri Guru Sri Uttapadakamaram Shri Guru Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagarana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishatanvitamscha Mam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyamadi Asachadi Shatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So today, welcome everyone, welcome again. Thank you for being here on this very auspicious, special day. Over the last couple of weeks or so, I had a few exchanges where people come to me and say I heard. And knowing certain facts, it's kind of a distortion of the facts which are presented to me in different ways. So that happened to me a couple of times. Something interesting how this works, how kind of people speak about different things. Sometimes it's kind of just speaking. Sometimes it kind of goes into the, let's say, the realm of gossip. It also happens in the devotee societies, we're not exempt. And sometimes it just starts with a perception or a presumption, which then spread, and you get this very distorted view of things. And knowing things from what actually happened, it's like how did this come about? How did this view of reality come about? So I wanted to speak about that. Then I looked at the calendar and I saw it's the appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit, a very important personality in our particular tradition. So, and I thought, should I speak about this or should I speak about that? And I thought, well, maybe there's some place where this topic can be. And yes, it does. So we'll marry these two topics, presumptions, rumors, how to deal with them, how Gadadhar Pandit avoided falling in the pitfall of a presumption which could have led to offense and gossip and so on, and how he himself also became subject to a presumption, where there was a certain reality going on internally but externally it appeared differently. And he was the subject of the kind of the controversy or that. And it's also interesting to see how he dealt with it at the time. And of course, this is all very much open for discussion, so hopefully I'll have some time for that. But before we look at that particular angle on this topic, presumption and the effects of that and how to avoid it, I want to first of all speak a little bit more about the personality of Gadadhar Pandit, who he is, and what is his position in our lineage. And so I'll just give a little bit of context, a little bit of biography, and then gradually we come to the most relevant sections. Who of you heard the class with Sri Prahlad this morning? The Srimad Bhagavatam class. Okay, good. So there will be not too much fault if we repeat it a lot, but it's well, repetition is not so bad. As a matter of fact, even if you all heard the class, it would have not been a problem. You know why? This is exactly what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to do with Gadadhar Pandit. Gadadhar Pandit, he lived in Puri, Jagannath Puri, and he worshipped a deity there, and he would every day recite Srimad Bhagavatam. He was like, he's Pandit, Gadadhar Pandit. He's a very learned personality, and extremely learned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and many actually studied from him. Many studied Srimad Bhagavatam from him. And so did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would go every day, or almost every day, he would go to see Gadadhar Pandit and hear Srimad Bhagavatam. And he would recite not only Krishna Lila, he would recite many pastimes. So, sometimes he would speak about Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsimhadev, the pastime. And then Lord Chaitanya would hear it, and he said, after hearing, he said, recite it again! And then he would recite the whole pastime again, and he said, recite it again! And it would go like up to 100 times sometimes. Because these pastimes, they are ever fresh, like Krishna's Navayom, ever fresh. And we can, we can hear the same thing many, many times. Now, I'm not going to speak the same thing all over again, 100 times over again. But even if I would, it would still be nice from the spiritual perspective. So before I start, we'll chant an introductory, evocatory verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Today is Bhagavat Sravana, the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam, but the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, the biography of Sri Chaitanya, is just an extension of the Bhagavatam and none different from it. Because it describes the life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's the Bhagavan, Krishna, and in the mood of the greatest devotee, Sri Radha. And Gadadhar Pandit is also considered an incarnation of Sri Radha. How Lord Chaitanya and he are both at the same time, that we'll get into in a little bit. But Radharani stands out as the height of all love for God, the very personification of love for God. So her love is glorified in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the personalities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Gadadhar Pandit, both. So this is not different from the Bhagavatam, therefore. But we'll chant one introductory mantra or prayer, verse, which is recited often in the Chaitanya Charitamrita at the beginning of the chapter. You may have heard it, otherwise you can try to follow. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So first read this verse. You can respond if you can. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam.
Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam.
Bhaktavataram Bhaktavyam.
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
Namami Bhakta Shaktikam.
I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is none different from his features as a devotee, devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. So this verse speaks about the Panchatattva. Who are the Panchatattva? Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So Krishna appears in 5 different features. He appears as Sri Chaitanya, as Krishna himself, Swayam Bhagavan. But he's described here as Bhakta Rupa, in the form of a Bhakta devotee. Then he appears as Swarupakam, his direct manifestation. Like Krishna's direct first manifestation is Balaram. You see them right there. Krishna's first expansion is Balaram. And that personality appears as Lord Nityananda, also in the mood of the devotee. Then Bhakta Avataram. Who's that? The incarnation of the devotee? Sri Advaita Acharya. He's the incarnation of Mahavishnu, who is the very first avatar. From Mahavishnu, all the avatars come. Of course, Krishna is the source of all avatars. When he comes, he's not an incarnation of Mahavishnu. But all the other avatars, they manifest from Mahavishnu's, which is Advaita Acharya. So he's called Bhakta Avatara. The original avatar, Mahavishnu, also comes as Bhakta, as a devotee. Then Bhaktakyam, the devotee himself, which is? No.
Oh no.
Srivas, who is an incarnation of Narada Muni. Now if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, in every story who appears? Narada Muni. Everywhere. There he is. He actually is he's the kind of the quintessential pure devotee. He's a jiva soul, like us. He was conditioned at some point. We read the Srimad Bhagavatam, but he became harmony by association with great devotees for practicing Krishna consciousness. So Bhaktakyam and Bhakta Shaktikam. That is Gadadhar. He's the Shakti Tattva. He's the energy of the Lord, who also appears as his devotee. Now, who's the original energy of the Lord? Sri Radha. So, she's like Krishna is the source of all other forms of the Lord. So Radha is the source of all other consorts, all other energies of the Lord. So she appears as Radharani in Vrindavan and in Dwaraka as Rukmini and all the other queens. Of course, in Vrindavan also she expands and all the gopis. In Dwaraka she expands into Rukmini and all the other queens. In Vaikuntha, along with Vishnu, she expands as Lakshmi Devi and every Vaikuntha planet. As Rama, she experiences Sita. So that is the Shakti, the energy of the Lord. So Gadadhar Pandit is the original energy, who also appears as Lord Chaitanya in this world in the form of a devotee. Now, interestingly, that energy is feminine, but takes a male body in the form of Gadadhar Pandit. Now, interestingly, when did Krishna appear? Which day of the moon? A day of the dark moon, yeah, the waning moon. And when did Radharani appear?
8 days the waxing moon.
Hey, yeah, very good. So, 8 day means half. Moon is in half. So 2 half moons. So we came together as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared on the full moon. Yes. And what day is today? Do you remember from the class this morning?
Gadadhar appearance day?
Yes. What is the moon day today?
Oh, the moon day today.
Yeah, it's a dark moon
Oh, yeah,
day.
the moon today. Yeah.
New moon. So there's one great Vaishnava who gives a commentary on this, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's Lord Krishna himself, who is so enthralled by the devotion of Sri Radha, mystified even by that devotion, that he wants to taste that, he wants to experience that. He can't quite comprehend it. He's like, I can only comprehend this if I really take her mood, her bhava, and he also takes her complexion. So he takes her golden complexion and then her mood, her bhava, her love, to experience that. So, and who is Gadadhar? Radha. But the mood has been taken. All the bhava has been taken, stolen, as Vaishnava says. Stolen by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's why he appears on the dark one, signified that all her bhava went to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so, it says that Sri Radha has she has a bit of a contrary mood with Krishna. She's not like a submissive lover. She's a little, as Sri Prahlad said this morning, very nice word, contrarian. You know, she likes to argue a bit. She likes to, be a little angry sometimes with Krishna. But it's only to please Krishna, only in the mood of expanding the pastime, of enhancing their loving relationship. But Gadadhar Pandit is very opposite in the mood. What is his mood like? Submissive. Yeah, very submissive, very mild, very sweet. Like, who is like that in Krishna's pastimes? Oh, yeah, a little bit. It's often described as Rukmini. Rukmini Devi in Dwaraka, she's very submissive. So when Krishna starts to joke with her one day, she's like, oh, Rukmini, why did you marry me? You should have married Shishupal, one of the other great princes. Like, I'm a very dubious person, like nobody quite knows what caste I am and so on. I fled the battlefield once and I'm very heroic. Like, you made a mistake, like, you may want to reconsider, and you're still free to. And just the thought of that, Rubini was like arguing back with Krishna, she just fainted. She was like, couldn't bear it, but she wouldn't argue with Krishna. So Krishna kind of wanted to see her a little bit angry, kind of provoking her a little bit, but she would go there. So she would just hold it all in, and then in her agony, of even thinking about being separated from Krishna, she fainted. So that's the mood of Radha, of Gadadhar. He's a very mild, very submissive. But we still see that pure love of Sri Radha manifested in this person. We'll also get to that in a little bit. Because the pure love of Radha, there's different kinds of love for God. There's love which only considers the happiness of the beloved. And there's also love which considers more the happiness of oneself. But it's still with Krishna. So there's different examples of them like that. So there's kind of a spectrum. Some devotees, they love Krishna or Vishnu, but they love the opulence and the idea of being in Vaikuntha, in the spiritual world, and enjoying that, not separately from Krishna, but with Krishna. But there's still some selfishness there. But it's not material. It's not lust. It's also pure spiritual desire, because it's completely in relation with Krishna. It's beautiful. It's like sweet. But there's again different, gradients of sweetness. Like you have a cinnamon roll, and then you have the frosting of the cinnamon roll. Right? It's just so sweet you can't even eat it. So love of God is like that. There's different gradients, and it's all pure. It's all sweet. It's all beautiful. But there's very deep, condensed love, which is purely self, is only considered the beloved. So that's the mood of Radha. And that's the mood of Gadadhar in relationship to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's said that there's actually no one in this world, of all the associates of Mahaprabhu, who had more love, more affection towards him than Sri Gadadhar. He is the epitome of love for Gaura. Like Radha is the epitome of love for Krishna, Gadadhar is the epitome. It's the highest manifestation of love for Lord Chaitanya. But to facilitate his mood and his pastime, he does not exhibit the mood of which Radha experienced in Krishna Lila, because Lord Chaitanya wants to experience that. So he has to kind of hide that mood and take on a very different mood to assist Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in him tasting that mood. That's why full moon and dark moon. Really nice poetic explanation by one very great Vaishnava, one of the godbrothers of Srila Prabhupada, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, who Prabhupada considered his own Shiksha Guru. He gave this explanation. He's a very wonderful speaker, very poetic, and very deep. So that is Gadadhar in Tattva. Now he appeared around, he was as contemporary can get with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He appeared, I think, just a year after or so. He appeared in eastern Bengal, which is now Bangladesh, which used to be just all Bengal. And on a very young age, I didn't do the research fully, but his parents came to Navadvip and lived very close to where Sri Chaitanya lived. So they were basically babies playing together. So they were together from early childhood all the way to the very end. They were inseparable. But different in nature again. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was very mischievous when he grew up. Anyone remembers that he was a mischief he would do? Yeah, or on the bank on the Ganges. He would do things like, there were like ladies were made like far away and the men were made very far away and he would like swap their clothes. All kinds of things like that. This is just like, I could give a whole class about all the mischief he would do. Because that was very different. He was very, mild, very well behaved, very, And then when Nimai at that time grew up further, he was very intelligent, of course, the Supreme Lord, and he became a great scholar. And they're in the same school together, but Nimai became very kind of arrogant with his learning, so he would challenge everyone. And at that time, he did not exhibit his mood of being a devotee. But Gadadhar, from his very young age, always was always absorbed in love for Krishna, always absorbed in devotion. So he did not he loved Nimai like no one else, but he didn't love this part of Nimai. And he became he was always arguing with everyone. And not speaking about Krishna, not being absorbed in devotional service. So, and sometimes he would also so Gadadhar would kind of avoid him at this time. But sometimes he couldn't, and then, Nimai would grab him and pose a challenging question and say, Gadadhar, you answer this. And then he would argue with him and defeat him. And Gadadhar was like, oh my God. So at some point he was seeing Nimai, he would kind of take the detour. And then one day Lord Chaitanya shouted at him. He said, Gadadhar, very soon I'm gonna experience and exhibit such love for Krishna that even Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva will come at my door to beg love for Krishna. So, and all the devotees, and especially Gadadhar, they were all praying, oh, my Lord Krishna, we love Nimai so much. He's such a wonderful person. He's so beautiful. He attracts all of our hearts. Please let him become a devotee. We cannot bear to see him absorbed in this arrogant mood of a scholar. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to show that you can only exhibit pure devotion by the mercy of another devotee. So only when he took initiation, however intelligent you are, however qualified you are, however beautiful you are, unless you get the mercy of a pure devotee, you cannot enter the path of bhakti in a serious way. So only when he took initiation from Ishwara Puri, who also had great love for Gadadhar. It's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat how Ishwara Puri, the guru of Sri Chaitanya, had a lot of love for Gadadhar. He was so sweet and so gentle, so meek, so deeply devoted, and also very renounced. He had no interest in anything material. Only interest was bhakti, chanting Krishna's name, studying Srimad Bhagavatam, worshipping Krishna in different ways, serving the Vaishnavas. So he was very loved by all the devotees. So Ishwara Puri also was very pleased with him. So, but yeah, when Lord Chaitanya took initiation from Ishwara Puri, only then he exhibited great love for Krishna. And then all the devotees, especially Gadadhar, was so happy that Lord Chaitanya, Nimai at that time, exhibited such amazing love for Krishna. They had never seen that kind of love. So Lord Chaitanya, when he got initiated, he got the mantra, Krishna mantra, and then Krishna appeared before him. And since then he went mad. The rest of his life he spent searching for Krishna. Where is Krishna? He had only one question in his mind. Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where can I find Krishna? And crying the separation from Krishna. So one day, Lord Chaitanya was crying, where is Krishna? Where's my Krishna? And then Gadadhar wanted to pacify him. Again, he's serving Mahaprabhu's Lila. Sri Radha serving Krishna, Mahaprabhu in this form. Krishna in this form of Mahaprabhu. And then he said, Krishna's in your heart. And what did Lord Chaitanya do then? Freaked out. He he wanted to tear his chest in his divine madness. Where's Krishna? He's in my heart. And then Gadadhar said, no, not in this way. Don't worry, he'll come very soon, very soon. So he was so gentle and so sweet, and he pacified Mahaprabhu like that. And then Sachi Devi, Lord Chaitanya's mother, she was observing this. And she felt like, oh, this boy is so, like he can pacify my Nimai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, like no one else. So she told him, like, you always stay with him. So since then, Gadadhar always stayed with Nimai Pandit, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, at some point, Gadadhar had another very close friend, associate of Mahaprabhu, his name is Mukunda Datta. And their pastime would be like whenever like a great Vaishnava would come to Navadvip, they had this thing that they would inform each other. So eager to have association with great devotees. So Mukunda said, there's this great Vaishnava that's come, you have to meet him. His name is Pundarik Vidyani. Actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at that time still Nimai Pandit, sometimes he would cry out, my father, where's my father, where's Pundarik? So all the devotees had never met him, but they kind of knew about this personality, and who was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this personality moved from where he was living, Chattogram, I believe, to Navadvip. But he was so respected in Chattogram. He was a Brahmana, a very great Vaishnava, very learned, and everybody would worship him, everybody would bow down to him when they see him. So he was like, oh, I have enough of this. I need to go from here and I need to go undercover. So he set up camp in Navadvip. He was coming from some wealth, so he got this very nice mansion, and so Mukunda and Gadadhar came in. Now, mind you, Gadadhar is like renounced from birth, super simple, no interest in any kind of material enjoyment, only absorption in Krishna. And generally, Vaishnavas are like that. So they came in, and he couldn't believe his eyes. He's this personality sitting on like a very nice soft bed with the finest silk sheets, on very nice pillows, and there's two people fanning him with peacock fans, and there's like the whole room is filled with all kinds of golden ornaments, and he's looking in the mirror and smiling at himself. And he's like chewing battle, and he's like these different pots around him with different like juices and water, and it's just this whole mood of wealth and enjoyment. Now, what does Krishna says in the Gita about wealth and enjoyment? Jagannath Prabhu, can you think of the shloka? Bhoga Aishwarya. Yes, Bhoga Aishwarya Pasaktam Tayapari. Vasyami Vidhi, Samadhana Vidhi. If you're absorbed in wealth and sense enjoyment, you can't be absorbed in full samadhi, you can have full absorption in Krishna, in Krishna consciousness. So, and Gadadhar was like, everybody's telling this is a great devotee. So, he's seeing one thing and he's presuming. That's where the presumption comes in. This is not right. So he had this doubt in his mind. He had a presumption that you can only be a great devotee if you're renounced and if you exhibit that renunciation. And of course, we hear about so many great Vaishnavas in the Shastras who lived actually up like the Pandavas, said that the opulence of Maharaj Yudhishthira was greater than the heavenly opulence. So, but it is natural. It's natural. If you would be in Gadadhar's shoes, you would always also would scratch your head a little bit, like what's going on here. So Mukunda, he read Gadadhar's mind, and he said, I thought, okay, let me shh. Like he thought, well, I can tell him, no, it's actually he's a great devotee, but he thought, okay, that's not gonna work. There's this principle called show, don't tell. So let me show. So Mukunda had a very sweet voice. He could sing beautifully. So he chanted one shloka from Srimad Bhagavatam. So we hear a little bit from Srimad Bhagavatam today. Oh Bhagiyam Stanakala Kutam Jigham Shaya Payapyasadvi Lebhe Gadim Dhatruchitam Tatonyam Kambadayarum Sharanam Brajema. Would someone like to read the translation here?
Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon, Putana, although she was unfaithful, and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast.
So Putana was a she-demon, and when Krishna was a baby, she came to feed him with the intent to kill him. Her breast was really potent. So she appeared as a nurse in Krishna's home, and she was so beautiful and looked like a goddess, so everybody kind of gave her a free pass. But then her intent was to kill Krishna. But Krishna sucked the poison and also sucked the milk. But Krishna is so merciful. He just took the milk. Like he accepted the milk. He rejected the poison, he accepted the milk, and gave Putana a position as one of the nurses. And just like one of the associates of Mother Yashoda. So yeah, this is Krishna's mercy. He sees only the good. So when Pundarik heard this shloka, as Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj describes, all Vrindavan broke loose. He became so ecstatic. He kicked everything away. The pots went flying, a mirror went flying, the sheets were torn. He went in such a state of ecstasy that he lost himself, and he went kind of wild. This is not to be imitated. This is just a genuine ecstasy. It's called anubhava. This ecstasy in the mind manifests in the body in different ways. And on the measurement, there's all sattvika bhavas, crying, shivering, hair standing on end, and so on. And then he just like went into a deep trance where he just like lay down. And Gadadhar Pandit, he can understand what's real, what's not. So he understood this person is a really great devotee. And he was both shocked and relieved, because he felt like, what? This person is like a very great Vaishnava. What if I just kept this offensive mentality in my mind, this presumption I had, and I would just live with that and not having taken advantage. So he said, Mukunda, I'm so grateful to you. You are a true friend, because you revealed the glory of this Vaishnava. And then he thought, I must take initiative to mitigate this offense I committed in my mind. I must take initiation from this person. So then he went to Lord Chaitanya, to Nimai Pandit, and put that proposition before him. Again, he's so devoted to Lord Chaitanya, he wouldn't do anything without his approval. And so and Lord Chaitanya very much approved, and then he took initiation from it. And who is Punari Vidyanidhi in Krishna's pastimes? He's Maharaj Vrishabhan, the father of Sri Rama. So it's a very natural connection. And Pundarik Vijay was of course very pleased to initiate him. So this is a very important story because so often something happened or we experience something even in the community of the devotees and we have a perception of it. And generally when we have a perception, then we could either just stay in his mind. But generally, what does it lead to? Gossip, talking. Hey, I saw this. No, I don't know. So then and if it's wrong, if it's not based on fact, if it's your misconception about a devotee, then it just spreads a very toxic environment in a community. Can you imagine if Gadadhar Pandit was not as advanced as he was, and he didn't have such a great friend as Mukunda, then very easily it could have been like this whole rumor going around and now that hey, there's this so-called great Vaishnava that actually is just a wicked sense of joy. Okay. So Pundarik Vijay, this is what he wanted, mysteriously enough. We tend to want to be glorified and like be respected and so on. He wanted to be disrespected, like he wanted to remain hidden. That's another amazing thing. We won't go into that so much. So yes, that's why it's so important that we have friends like Mukunda. And in the community we should be to each other, like Mukunda to Gadadhar. Always give, of course, when you deal with management and so on, and there is always certain issues which need to be dealt with, that's another thing. That's kind of the thankless task of those who are management, that if there's faults, if there are difficulties, that needs to be dealt with. So, and yeah, that means sometimes having discussions about that and so on. But if we don't need to have that, why would we, have these kind of discussions? Well, this devotee, that devotee, this thing, that thing. And Mukunda, he spoke Srimad Bhagavatam to Pundarik Vijay, and from the Bhagavad Katha, everything was settled, everything was, the whole situation was mitigated. So we need friends who are absorbed in Krishna Katha. We need friends who love the Vaishnavas. We need friends who focus on the glories of the Vaishnavas. And better to avoid negative talk and gossip and so on as much as we can. You no community, no society can ever be exempted of rumors and gossip and so on, often based on these presumptions. Was Krishna aloof from this? Even the Supreme Lord himself? At some point, there was a rumor in Dwarka, I won't go into the whole pastime, that Krishna had taken the Shamantaka jewel. It appeared like it. Like you could make up a story where it would look like yes, it would make sense. But he did not. So but the whole rumor spread that Krishna had stolen the Shamantaka jewel. The Supreme Personality of God is not beyond presumptions and gossip and rumors. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, because they were having kirtan in a very intimate way, and not everyone was allowed to get in. So those who were standing in front of the gate hearing all the kirtan going on, and they felt like really wronged, like, why am I, the great me, not allowed to be coming? So they were like talking, they must be worshipping Goddess Durga in there. they're drinking wine and having women over, and so all this talk was going on the gates. They had no clue what was going on inside, but there was presumption and there was gossip. So even the greatest devotees, the Supreme Lord Himself, is not aloof from this. It's just inherent in the material world. We cannot expect utopia, but we can deal with it. So yeah, we can take a great example of this, that we should be very careful making a judgment, because things very often don't appear exactly as they seem. And we should have friends who don't have that kind of fault-finding mentality, who are always looking for the good. And if we have a mentorship, that's why you have mentors in this community also, where if you see something, if there's something troubling you, instead of like talking to anyone and everyone, you just talk to your mentor. Like, hey, kind of like Mukunda was the mentor for Gadadhar Pandit. Like, he had more knowledge, had more context, and was able to mitigate the situation. So very often a more advanced devotee is acting like a mentor can kind of shed some light on what happened, and even deal with the situation if it needs to be dealt with, because there are serious situations which happen and need to be dealt with. We can brush over it. So like that. So these are some lessons we can draw from this. Any thoughts? I have so much more to share, but I want to stop here first. Priya Prabhu, would you like to? I'm sure there's lots of thoughts in your mind.
I think the Bhakti Center is doing that as a collective. I think the Bhakti Center as a collective is doing that now. Instead of Prabhu having these town hall meetings, there's one tomorrow night, right? For the community to, what have you heard? What do you want to know? Are there rumors going around? We can tell you for sure what is what. So I appreciate that. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, it's nice to have open discussion, open communication. In the name of not talking bad about anyone, we cannot just shove everything under the carpet and nothing is happening. Things are happening. There are things which can be bewildering. It should be brought in the open, just in a nice way. In a town hall, with a mentor, with management, with proper. This way, there can be, all the relationships can stay intact. And there can be loving mood amongst the Vaishnavas. That is the most important. There may be spots on the moon, but we should always look to the moon. Sometimes look at the spots too, but in the context of the moon. You want to hear more about Gadadhar Pandit?
Yes.
So eventually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. And then Gadadhar, of course, also renounced. He was already renounced, but he went with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Puri. And there's a very nice garden near the Jagannath temple. And in that garden, a deity was found. I forgot the story actually, how this deity was found. I think Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself found it. The deity is called Gopinath. So he's called Tota Gopinath. Tota means garden, because he was found in that garden. And so then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave Gadadhar Pandit residence in that garden and gave him the service to worship that deity. So at that time, Gadadhar Pandit took what's called Kshetra Sannyasa. He did sannyasa, he fully renounced the world, but he stayed in one place. Kind of like Adi Purush Prabhu, who's taking Kshetra sannyas in New York City. So he never left Puri. At some point, Mahaprabhu himself wanted to travel to Vrindavan. Now, Gadadhar Pandit was inseparable from Mahaprabhu, and also Sachimata told him never leave him. So he felt like I have to go with him. So he went with him along with other devotees, walked with him. At some point, Lord Chaitanya said, "No, you can all go back." But Gadadhar was like, "No, I'll go with you." And Mahaprabhu said, "No, but you have taken a vow to your deity, and you have taken the vow to never leave this dham, to never leave Jagannath Puri." So, and what did Gadadhar Pandit said? "My vow can go to Rasatala," literally. Or in other words, New York translation, "To hell with my vows. Like wherever you are, there is Jagannath Puri, there is my deity." So he wanted to go with him, and then Mahaprabhu said, "But it will look very bad on me because everybody will know like I took you and I broke your vow." And he said, "No worries, no worries. I'll walk separately from you. I'll meet you sometime later." So then he left separately, and then at some point they met again in Cuttack, like something like, a few hours from Jagannath Puri. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he, let me see if I have the verse here. Okay. Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, like, "Gadadhar, please go back. You're going with me just for your own happiness, because it does not make me happy. My happiness is if you keep doing your service, and if you keep your vow. Otherwise, I'll be very unhappy. So your goal is just your own happiness. And that's the one thing, that's where the whole thing stopped. Because we hear about this, the mood of Sri Radha in the Shikshastakam. You may be broke, you can handle me roughly by your embrace, or make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. You're free to do anything and everything, but you're always more worshipful, Lord, unconditionally. Pranamata. So this is the mood of Sri Radha. Among all the colorful pastimes, the underlying mood is that my only happiness is Krishna's happiness. And for Gadadhar Pandit, his only happiness was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's happiness. So when Lord Chaitanya said that, like, I'm unhappy, he's like, that's where everything stopped. So he knew he had to go back at that point, because the most terrible thing for him was like separation from Mahaprabhu. Even worse than that is making Lord Chaitanya unhappy. Like the gopis, they always wanted to see Krishna. But they always wanted him to come back to Vrindavan. But if he's more happy there, then let him stay here. We just want Krishna to be happy. So that's the whole underlying mood. So we see that same in Gadadhar Pandit. That's where we really see his unalloyed, pure love come out. That same mood of Sri Radha towards Krishna is manifest from Gadadhar to Lord Chaitanya. Only wanting to see him happy. So he just fainted at that time, having to bear the separation of Mahaprabhu. And he went back to serve his deity. I'm very inspired by Gadadhar Pandit because being a pujari, it's so nice. He was just like worshipping his deity of Tota Gopina, a beautiful form of Krishna, threefold bending and bending form. And he was reciting Srimad Bhagavatam every day. So I thought, wow, this is such a great life. But I do a lot of worship, but not so much recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam. It would be nice to add more of that to it. So I'm happy to have the opportunity today to both worship the deity today and recite Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's an extended form of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come and listen to him every day. And in this way, Gadadhar Pandit would help Sri Chaitanya, would assist him to relish love for Krishna and also to pacify his aching heart. Lord Chaitanya was also aching separation from Krishna. And by hearing from Gadadhar Pandit, his heart would be satisfied. At one point, there was a person who came to, this is the last lesson, and a devotee came to Jagannath Puri. His name is Vallabha. He was very learned. And he had written a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, which he wanted to read to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he was proud. He had pride in his learning. And so basically, Lord Chaitanya didn't want to hear it. He avoided him. And what did all the associates of Mahaprabhu do? They all avoided him. Now this person then went to Gadadhar Pandit, he knew was a great Bhagavatam scholar. But Gadadhar was but he wouldn't just immediately read to him, he would visit him and take darshan of the deity, and they had some affectionate relationship. And Gadadhar is very mild, very meek, so he wasn't like rejecting anyone. So, and at some point he really forcefully wanted to read his explanation before Gadadhar Pandit. And he was such a kind of a gentle, kind person, he couldn't say no. This is learned Brahmana, and he felt like, how can I just reject? But he knew, there's a verse which says that he knew, okay, Lord Chaitanya will understand, he knows my heart, but I don't really want to listen from this person. I'm just kind of, being a little diplomatic here, sometimes you have to do that. So he was praying internally, Lord Chaitanya, please, you understand my heart. I don't want to hear this, but I am forced to. But then he was also considering, but the associates of Mahaprabhu, they're not so, they're very critical. Nothing changed. Because he has a certain standard, so they all wanted him to follow that standard. So now he was the object of presumption. Because he didn't want to hear, but everyone was thinking, why is he hearing from this person? This is not good, this is not correct. Why is Gadadhar doing this? Because they presumed he wanted to hear from him. And Lord Chaitanya is not hearing from him, so why is he doing it? Why is he not following Mahaprabhu's instruction here? So it said that the associates of Mahaprabhu, they exhibited some pranaya rosha, loving anger towards Gadadhar. They didn't reject him. They were just a little bit upset. But yeah, he became the object of presumption. And sometimes, but he didn't defend himself. He didn't start a campaign he took out his banner. He just tolerated it. Sometimes we're misunderstood. Sometimes the presumption is about us. We're misunderstood. What can we do? Often there's not much we can do. We can just pray to the Lord. Devotees can be a little critical sometimes, because they have very high standards of behavior and so on. Krishna will understand. So ultimately, Lord Chaitanya, of course, embraced Gadadhar, loved him so much. And then all the devotees could understand that there's no fault in Gadadhar. It's just the pastime of Mahaprabhu to show how much Gadadhar actually loved him. Because when he called Gadadhar back, Lord Chaitanya was also keeping a little distance. And he called him back, and Gadadhar was just crying, exhibited so much love for Mahaprabhu. And all the devotees could understand that Gadadhar is so dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's why Lord Chaitanya is known as Gadadharam Prananatham. He is the very life of Sri Gadadhar. So when Lord Chaitanya passed away, then very quickly, within a year or so, Gadadhar also passed away because he couldn't bear the separation. So they were together the whole life. Born at the same time, they also left this world very short from each other. So these are the past of Sri Gadadhar. You learn the art of pure love from him. You can learn the art of absorption in worshipping the deities and reciting Srimad Bhagavatam, and also some lessons about presumptions, avoiding gossip, and even if we are subject of some presumptions, we can pray to the Lord that we Lord, you understand, please protect me. That's all we can do. Shri Gadadhar Pandit ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Gaur Premanand.
Vasudev Prabhu ki
Jai.
Okay, thank you so much for that wonderful class, Vasudev Prabhu. We'll now have, there's so many more people here, I just turned around, wonderful. We're going to have Arti now, so if you could please help clearing the cushions, folding the chairs, and let us sing and dance to the Lord.
Thank you for that class. Vasudev.
Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिव प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। राम आचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। विंसिक हो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री द्वैत विराधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायपुर धाम की जय। गंगामयी की जय। गुणमयी की जय। भक्ति देव की जय। बसी देव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंद। All glories to the Son of God. All glories to the Son of God. All glories to the Son of God. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. All glories to Shri Prabhupada.
So I invite you to close your eyes for a moment if you want to picture Lord Narasimhadev in your heart, or if you want to meditate on him on the altar. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Jai Srila Prabhupada ki. Bhakti Center ki. Jenna ki. Vasudev Prabhu ki. Ari Prabhu ki.
Parastu ki. Jai. Thank you so much, Parastu. Okay, thank you all so much. So we are concluding our program today. We have a few announcements. There's actually a lot going on, so I'm going to run through a few exciting things we have going on at Bhakti Center. So tomorrow, as was mentioned, Jagannath Prabhu mentioned during class today, tomorrow, Monday, from 6 to 7:30, We're having a virtual town hall meeting. This is open to anybody in the Bhakti Center community for us to come together as a community, understand any updates that are going on, bring anything we'd like to share, and just have more time together as a community and have open dialogue. Where can we find the Zoom link for that, Prabhu?
There in the set up the temple.
In the temple WhatsApp, perfect, so click on in. Okay, the next thing that we have going on, Friday, May 2nd, that is this coming Friday, we're entering May, buckle up, 6:30 to 9 p.m., we're having a special yagya for Nrsingadev. Because we are getting ready to celebrate his appearance day coming up. So this is a very special yagya. Please come on Friday from 6:30 to 9 here at the temple. Then Saturday, May 10th, we have the next iteration of our 6-hour kirtan. That will be happening all day and by all day I mean 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. Please come through any time that is convenient for you. Stay as long as you can. And then finally, Sunday, May 11th, we have Nrsingadev Chaturdashi. We have the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev. It will be such an ecstatic day. We'll have our Bhagavat Sravana in the morning with a special class by Chaitanya Charandas. And then we will roll right through to an afternoon festival with Harinam and Kirtan and Abhishek and a drama and a class by Gorsharan. So pretty much all day from 11 until 8. So please come for this mega exciting festival. Howdy bol. Final announcement, this is a community-run program. We rely on our patrons and our community members. If you feel inspired, there is a bowl for donations by Prasadam. There's also QR codes by the Prasadam table and throughout. Anything that you're inspired to give greatly helps us continue providing these nourishing spiritual programs for you all. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday with us. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Hare Krishna.
Hare